Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RHAP. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here in the off season of Big Brother to talk through the history, the 25-year history of the show. And we are in our second week of our retrospective series to talk about Big Brother 2. And with me to talk about the second season, really the first real season of Big Brother in the US, it's Mari. How you doing, Mari?
Hey, Taran. I am so happy to be here to start off technically kind of ish the Big Brother retrospective. This is so fun. It's sad that we have a long off season, rip BB can, but we're going to make the most of it, you know?
We are indeed. We are here live on a Thursday night. This is around the time we will be doing this every week. And last week we talked about Big Brother 1, and I know that that's not exactly the most popular season of the show. Though I will say there were some responses to that podcast that were like, "Hey, I thought it was good. I thought it was fine." So we found those people.
I don't know her. I don't know Big Brother 1. I This is where it started. This is where the magic happens.
It is indeed. Well, one of the things we are going to be doing across the 25 weeks leading into Big Brother 27 is that every week we are going to show off our latest DVD cover / poster of each season according to the audience's vote of who they think should be on the cover of the DVD for the season. So what I did was there was a survey out, and the survey is, if I'm remembering the URL correctly, something along the lines of robasawebsite.com/Big Brother Retrospective and/or BB Retrospective. Sam is going to let me know. BB Retrospective.
Yay! Sounds right to me.
Quick note. We originally titled this podcast "The Memory Wall." Somebody came up with it. Was like, "Oh, that's a good idea, Memory Wall." It turns out there's another podcast series called The Memory Wall by one Sharon Tharp. So we are now rebranding to just listen. This is what we get when you try to be fancy with names. We're just going to call it the Retrospective. This is the Retrospective series.
Getting retro, yeah.
Yes, retro indeed. So I did have the survey out. You can still vote in the survey. Here's what's happening for the survey. The survey this week was for both Big Brother 1 and Big Brother 2. This is the only week that's going to happen. The survey is going to close down for Big Brother 2, and then next week we will show you the results and the poster that will be made for after we get the results in. So you still have time if you want to vote for Big Brother 2 throughout this podcast. I'll close it after the podcast and reopen it for Big Brother 3 in the lead up to that season's podcast. So in the meantime, I did put out a question because Rob was curious. He said, "What do you think the percentage is of people that have watched Big Brother 1?" And I was like, well, it matters. Are we talking at all or to completion? And so I asked both questions. Mari, I'm curious, what do you think the percentage was from our audience, the people that took time to take this poll? How many people do you think saw any of Big Brother 1? How many people do you think saw the entirety of Big Brother 1?
I will say that 35% saw a little bit of Big Brother 1, but we have some diehards, and I'll say about 47% saw the entire series.
You think more people completed it than watched any of it?
Yes, because honestly, we're in for a penny, in for a pound type of folks.
I see what you're saying, but I would imagine. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
There's like, you're wrong.
Well, to your credit, you didn't know how the questions were structured, but anybody that saw the entirety would certainly say yes to seeing any of it. Also,
okay, yeah. You know what? I see math. I'm not math.
Ultimately, you said around 45%. You said 44%?
Yeah, there we go. Let's say 45. Yeah.
Have you seen any episodes of Big Brother 1? 64% said yes.
Okay.
They have seen some amount of Big Brother 1. That's a pretty decent amount of people that have seen some of it. Now,
Mhm.
the next question, have you seen the entirety of Big Brother 1?
Mhm.
38% said yes.
Okay. Look at that.
About 60, we'll call it 2/3 and 1/3, right? Well,
Mhm.
2/3 of the survey taking audience did watch some of Big Brother 1, and then half of those people managed to finish it.
I
We're
mean,
exactly in line with the ratings for Big Brother. Congratulations.
there you go. See, our audience is on the pulse. We're on the pulse of the Big Brother. Me, not so much, but we are on the pulse. It's okay. It's
Listen,
cool.
I was off. I said 20% tops would have
Mhm.
completed it, and it was nearly double that. So I think Rob was a bit closer.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's what we did as well. We put out the poll, and we will talk about Big Brother 2 very shortly. But we want to do some wrap up here, some catch up here. The 3 people on the poster on the DVD cover for Big Brother 1. I would
Okay.
ask you who they are, but I have already shown you the poster a little bit, so you know the answer. But here it is. I'm going to show it to all of you now. Here's the poster. Boom! That is the Big Brother Season 1 DVD cover. Chicken George,
Mhm.
number 1 on the board.
Can I guess the other 2 people never seeing season 1 and only going off what little clips I know of the show?
Please, yeah, who are they?
Okay. Was this the lady who had turned down, like, $10,000 or something? Oh, no, wait, no. She was gonna come into the house, and somebody had to get $10,000 to come out of the house? I just remember them saying no to a lot of money at one
They
point.
said no to $50,000. If one of them had taken the deal to leave the house and be replaced with a new contestant, they would have received
Okay.
$50,000. She was not that person. In fact,
Okay.
Mari, she's worth much more than $50,000.
Ooh, okay.
She is now a billionaire.
Wait, what?
Yes, we talked about this last week. She sold her company, It Cosmetics, for
Okay.
like something like $2 billion after her time on Big Brother. Jamie Kern. And
Oh, I know
yeah.
that name. Okay. Okay. All right, Jamie.
Listen, if she doesn't do that, I don't know if she's on this poster. I think the audience was a little biased toward billionaires.
I know. Well, I know that name. I remember. Okay. All righty. And I said, "Is that Eddie?" I don't know who that other man is. I'm just going to assume it's the winner because I know Chicken George didn't win.
That is, in fact, the winner, Eddie McGee. Yes.
Okay.
So Chicken George actually was the top voted person, but it was very close. It was 89% of all responders included Chicken George in their top 3.
Mhm.
Only 88% included Eddie McGee. So Chicken George gets the top spot. Eddie there in second place. Then down at 27% for Jamie. So big
Okay.
drop off.
Big
The
drop.
big 2 main characters of the
Mhm.
season were Eddie and Chicken George here. I will say 4th place, not too far off, Will Mega, which is the person I suggested should be on the poster.
Sorry to this man. I don't know. I don't know this man.
All right. Well, that's it for Big Brother 1. We don't need to talk anymore about Big Brother 1. There's the poster. I could probably show you. There's an even more DVD cover-esque version of it.
Ooh.
There it is. That
Oh,
is
look at
the
that.
oops, that's a little too close.
I can't wait till you guys get to the season 4 cover because I distinctly remember that one like as a kid because I remember staring at it in the store and be like, I remember that June did work with her ex to yep.
Yep, indeed.
DVDs.
All right.
For the kids in the chat, DVDs
Mm.
are what we used to watch movies and TV on.
Yeah.
I got y'all covered. Mhm.
So let's talk about Big Brother 2. Mari,
Yes.
you requested Big Brother 2.
Yes, I requested all Big Brother seasons except for some specific ones. Feel free to guess in the chat if you want to guess which ones I said no to. Yeah, I love Big Brother. I live and breathe it. I discovered Big Brother in BB5. And once I watched BB5, I went back and watched not one, two, three, and four. And I probably rewatched uh all of the like two, three, four, five, six, seven. Those ones at least four times. At least rewatch them. I rewatch them like annually when I get sick type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
so I love early Big Brother because I used to love the actual social ramifications of Big Brother and the conversations that Big Brother like really used to like invite for us to have before it got a little cartoony. You know what I'm saying? Like we
mhm,
love our cheese and modern Big Brother to an extent, but early Big Brother really was the social experiment that just kept evolving like year upon year upon year. And I am a sucker for a cast twist. And them early seasons, baby, had all of the cast twists. So I really love old school BB. So I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Sam in production for letting me talk about BB2 today.
Big Brother 2. It was the first season. We talked a bit about this last week. It was the first season run by the duo of Arnold Shapiro and Allison Grodner, who had come over from Rescue 911. Arnold Shapiro, famous for his Scared Straight documentary.
Mhm.
A respected documentarian coming over to do some reality TV,
Yeah.
and they had some fun things to do to change up the format. They also worked with one Lisa Levinson, who is now famous for her work on The Bachelor,
Mm,
as sort of like the
okay.
if you watched, I believe she was a character in the with that Bachelor fictionalized Bachelor show.
Unreal,
Yeah,
Unreal.
yeah, Unreal. I
Love
believe
that
she is a
show.
character on Unreal.
Ooh,
Um,
love that show.
so there's there's a lot that the producers are doing here to change up the formula. Primarily, it's now a game amongst the players, and
Mhm.
I think that we are sometimes a little overly harsh to the original format of Big Brother
Mm,
by not calling it a game at all, because it is a game. It's just a very different game.
yeah,
The game is that you're playing up to the audience,
true.
and that game kind of sucks. We
Yeah.
thought in the U.S. We immediately voted out Will Mega, and he was the most entertaining person on that cast. So in Big Brother 2, audience does not have a say. That's what Survivor taught them. It felt.
Yeah. Mhm,
Richard Hatch certainly would have been voted out by America. Will Kirby definitely would have been voted out by America early on.
mhm.
And so uh, additionally, we got some rambunctious cast members, and all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. So let's pull up a slideshow here. Here's Julie Chen back in the
Her.
days
Mhm.
of Big Brother 2. Um,
The original Bob.
and here is our cast, the Big Brother 2 cast, the first people to really play Big Brother as we know it today, minus of course the veto.
Yes, yes. I mean, to see it's going to be so much fun over these next few weeks really going through the evolution of Big Brother, and this starting with this one where we take the power out of America's hands. We introduce challenges, specifically the HOH challenge, and then from there the HOH nominates two people, but unlike our current iteration of BB, there's no veto, there's no saving. Like once you are on that block, the only thing that can save you is your social ability. So I Big Brother is the fact that Big Brother 2 is kind of so far from the format that we have now, but is still very, very rewatchable, very tone setting. a lot of firsts occurs in this season just shows you how good of like the bones that this show had, and that they really did a good job of building upon it as it went along. Might have lost our way there to the modern era, but some of these first initial changes were just really well done.
Yes. Well, let me just give a quick general recap of the season and how sort of it played out, because basically these players, as you see them on the screen here, they came into the season and very quickly they divided into two distinct teams. There was Chilltown on one side, and they had a few different names, but I preferred Top, aka the other people, on the other side. Chilltown, named after the chilly room that they were in. And Chilltown was kind of like the young, attractive, kind of cool kids.
The cool kids.
It was Justin, it was Will, it was Shannon, Mike Boogie, throw Krista in there a bit. And you had that kind of crew. Boogie wins the first HOH, and he wants to take out Nicole because Nicole is very annoying. But turns out Nicole, she's got some fight in her. She's gonna campaign. She survives the block. The very first person to really like overturn a vote in the very first nominations, and that sends the sort of hot mom Cheryl out the door. She was being used as the pawn, and that kind of kickstarts the whole season. Chilltown gets decimated from there as Nicole and Hardy really win the majority of the HOHs this season. For as good as the competitions are for most of Shapiro's reign especially, this was perhaps one of the more lopsided seasons in terms of competition wins. But ultimately, Chilltown's gonna sort of dwindle away as Will slithers his way through the game and makes it to the end because he's hated, because he's throwing competitions, because he's not good at competitions, and ultimately wins against Nicole. People felt she was too sort of hypocritical and annoying ultimately for having brought Will all the way to the end after vowing that he would never make it that far. So that's kind of like the basics of how Big Brother 2 played out. But there are lots of little interesting things along the way worth mentioning, Mari.
Taran, this season had the first alliance, Chilltown, the first showmance in Dr. Will and Shannon, the first situation where the pawn goes home on the very first HOH's noms. There's an HOH mutiny where the people don't go with what the HOH says. The pawn goes home. This is where the pawn goes home, like basically originally started. Like, it's just amazing. And yeah, it's like, is it because it's just the first season? But no, this cast really delivered, because it could have gone the way that we've seen so many seasons go, where the HOH, especially when there's no other competition to save the person, he could have put both of them up and everybody could have done what Mike said, but they didn't. You know what I'm saying? They went against the grain. They formed a counter alliance. Like, this is what made people fall in love with Big Brother. And it happens it starts off from the very first week, and it keeps going week after week after week.
Yes, Cheryl, the first victim of Pawns Go Home. And who knows what Cheryl might have been in the game if not for Mike Boogie's plan to pawn her on the block. But ultimately, a victim, not actually the first person out of the season, though. That was Justin, who was ejected from the game because he held a knife up to Krista's throat and asked her if she would be mad if he killed her.
Taran, when I watched that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I can't imagine. I wasn't on feeds then. I already said that. I cannot imagine what anybody would have been thinking watching that moment. It is just, if you haven't seen that moment, it's chilling because it's like it's so weird. It's so casual. Like it's just, how would you like if I killed you with his weird list thingy or whatever. And then it's like then they eject him. It's and then he's like, "Why are you ejecting me? I didn't do it." Oh my, it was so that moment is so weird. It's so creepy. It's so cringy. And this was after he had just gotten to a fight, right? Like previously he was in a fight with Kent, I believe. Um he was very what's the word? He had a lot of outbursts in the short time that Justin was there. He had a lot of scary moments and a lot of scary outbursts. So that even though at that point the knife thing was him playing, it was after a whole bunch of other very scary moments. So I thought it was only right that they did eject him. But that was a wild moment to watch.
And it was also wild. I believe this is the only time they ever do this, but after ejecting him, he sits down with Julie for an interview.
Mhm.
And basically is pretty unapologetic.
He really was. He's like, I asked her, I didn't do it. It's like, but okay, sir. Weird.
Yeah. So ever since Justin, plastic knives. And definitely less alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, really less alcohol now. So, which
Yeah.
is great, which is good. Better than, just
Listen,
keeping it
honestly, I
warm.
know people complain about it to some degree, but if you hear about the ways that alcohol is used on other reality shows, like it's
The
pretty
bug.
bad stuff. So like it's
Mhm.
kind of a good thing that they are not actively trying to ply them with alcohol and
I
create
agree.
situations like this.
I agree. I completely
Yeah.
agree. And it's at this point in Big Brother, it's like it's such a they're like, "Oh, alcohol delivery." It's such like a fun night. It's always like just fun. It's never like too much
hmm
anymore.
hmm all right. Well, the next person out was Autumn, who
Yeah.
left on Krista's HOH. Now, what's interesting about that is that
Mhm.
obviously we look toward Big Brother 4 for the first kind of real successful floating strategy. But and we'll talk about this perhaps a bit more when we get to Krista. But Krista's HOH was sort of a response to Mike Boogie's. Mike Boogie
Mhm.
planted a flag. He said, "I'm Team Chilltown, and I'm against anybody that's with Nicole." And then they revolted, and
Yep.
Mike Boogie was on the back foot. He got lucky that Krista won this HOH because a lot of other people might have been targeting him. And so Krista, though, who was a bit of a Team Chilltown player, was like, "I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want the house to revolt against me. What if I just try to please the house as much as possible?" And so I'm not going to like go after Chilltown. They're still my allies, but I'm also not going to go after like Top. So Autumn is just kind of like an easy person to take out. I'll have the least amount of people mad at me if I do this. And it's
Mhm.
sort of ironically, she makes kind of both sides a bit mad at her. It was an attempt at something that would eventually become floating. But a key to floating is that you're not often in the position to have to choose a side in the first place.
Exactly. It's the original I don't want blood on my hands strategy that backfires.
And
Mhm.
Autumn is the victim of it here, an easy
Yeah.
out.
So
She
unfortunate.
is really like the victim of some nasty bullying by Shannon,
Yes.
and stuff like that. Again, we talked about it a little bit last week, but the amount of bad stuff happening in the house, especially like listen, there's enough bad stuff that still happens, but definitely was pretty prominent back then.
Yeah, the amount of fights they got in just the first 2 weeks, again, was really crazy because Chilltown and their faction were the younger people. They were seen as the more like bold and outrageous people, and then the other people, the older people, were did not mesh well with them. And Autumn and Shannon just they would fight, and that's smoking. Everybody's smoking. I was like, what is happening? It was just so much, and I did feel bad for Autumn. But it was unfortunate she didn't have any allies. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she was an easy person to target for Krista.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is of course the week when Dr. Will is going to do his fast. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. The fast, I think, is an interesting sort of litmus test for like how deeply you sort of like watch Big Brother, because like when I was a kid, probably I was like, wow, he got them to do that. But then if you watch it closely, you realize, no, he didn't get them to do it. He tried to get them to do it, and pretty much everyone said no. And he spun that to the audience as like, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to not do it, and that has shown me how weak-willed they are.
Yes, exactly. And it's so funny because like after rewatching Big Brother 2, I don't know, maybe on my third go round, I had really realized, because it's not a part of the narrative as much as in BB3. In BB3, we're all like, Danielle lost because the jury wasn't sequestered. I don't think we talk about enough how much Will played to the jury through the show. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And how he played to the audience. I always knew he played to the audience, but I forgot how much that he really like spun the narrative and basically talked to the jury through the show. It's really fascinating to go back and watch, because like you said, like everybody's like, we're not fasting.
Genuinely, I think that the thing that Will is the most talented at, more than anything, more than the game itself, is being a character and the way that he conducts his diary room sessions. And this is something that he picked up on pretty quickly. It did take him, I think, a week or two in until he finally started to like recognize what they were looking for from him and what he could do. But once he got rolling, he just fully understood how to be the right character. And that was the thing, is that even when things didn't go well for him in the game, he was always able to spin it in the diary room like it was all according to plan. Yep. Like he had everything under control. And some people tried to do that still to this day, and it just doesn't really work most of the time. It's hard to really get one over on the audience in the way that Will is able to. But the combination of his charisma and the way that he's able to see how things can be edited, I think just works. And I'd be curious to see a version of Dr. Will where the producers are not on his side, because oh boy, they could probably make him look foolish. But he also knew to woo over the producers themselves, because that was a huge part of it. And so here it is. Autumn is out here in week 2. And that brings us to Shannon, who is out in week 3 at Hardy's hands. She did not appreciate that. She decided that his toothbrush was going to take a spin in the toilet.
When I tell you, it's so funny, like thinking back to like my pre-Big Brother watching days. For some reason, I always knew about Big Brother things happening even before I watched. The Shannon toothbrush thing, for people who might not have been there, that was on like entertainment news. It was on like MTV countdowns for TV moments and stuff like that. Like Shannon using Hardy's toothbrush to clean the toilet was like, it was a thing. It was like a cultural like happening. Like they told people who weren't watching the show. That was bonkers. I remember my mom being like, what show do they have? They're letting people use toilet brushes, toothbrush, toilet brushes. It was, oh my gosh, so crazy.
Yeah. It was one of her last big,
Went out with a bang. She went out with
bad
a
things that
bang.
she did. But it was wild. Like in an alliance with Mike Boogie, and we know where he ends up, and Dr. Will, she was the most wild and the
Yeah.
person that they decided they needed to target over the other two.
Over the other two, the person that everybody liked the least. And
Yeah.
how do you feel? So we were already talking about how Dr. Will spins things. Do we think he did actively like try and push Shannon to get her to so basically get voted out for him? Because we do
I've
see her say that she thinks he has the
mm,
better shot, so she wants to go out.
I have seen that narrative. Now, it's worth pointing out that I actually recently did a Twitch stream where I ranked the seasons based on live feed viewing enjoyment
Mm.
only.
Oh, okay.
And in that, I talked about how I can't really speak on 2 through 5 essentially
Right.
because I
Was
did
way
not
too
watch the
young.
live feeds at the time. I
Oh, good.
was I was quite young.
Probably not appropriate. No.
um, so I can't really speak to that. I have gone back and looked through archives, updates, stuff like that. Big Brother 2 coverage is spotty, but you can see a
Mm.
good amount. So I say this with some amount of like caveats there. But from my perspective, did Will encourage Shannon to like blow up and like be voted out over him? I didn't really feel like that was the case, especially
Mm.
when you watch the episodes and like, he has this moment where he's like, "Hey, I'm willing to go home for you," and like, yeah, sure, maybe he's
Mm.
playing her there, but I feel like it's genuine enough. I feel like he has like a moment of weakness there, um, and I think in general, like given what Shannon had already been doing, the things that she did to Autumn,
Yeah. Oh,
like stuff like that. I feel like Shannon was just going to be Shannon, and I'm sure that at some point during the week, Will was like, "Oh, I guess I'm probably going to stay because of what she's doing, and I'm happy about that."
Yeah.
But I don't think that Will necessarily was doing anything that was going to like guarantee his safety this week by encouraging Shannon to do whatever.
I agree. Shannon, great
All
character.
right. Well, let's move on then to our next victim. Hardy is going to give the HOH over to Kent, and Kent is going to take his shot at Mike Boogie. And Mike Boogie is going to, the rapping is finally going to be over.
Oh my god. I so going back as an older adult and rewatching this, pre-jail, still before he went to jail,
Mhm.
I realized how cringy he was in season 2. I
Maybe he was less cringy at the time. I don't know.
no, 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 because I'm pretty sure the way I did my rewatch, I saw 7 before I saw 2.
Mm,
Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure because I watched 5, watched 6, watched 7, and I'm pretty sure I worked my way backwards, so 4, 3, 2. So I'm sure I had the he does better in 7, and so when I went back and watched 2 originally, I was like, "Oh, this is Mike." But then going back and watching it again as an adult, I was like, "Ooh, no." Like, the proposal with Krista, everything he just feels so inauthentic. When you go back and you watch him, the rapping was cringe, of course, but this was peak Slim Shady. So I can see what Taran means by like at the time that wasn't the cringe part at the time. The cringe part to me is you could just tell how over the top he was. Like
mm,
Will was playing to the cameras, but Will just had the charisma to pull off playing to the cameras. Mike was playing to the cameras and it just came off slimy. And they say it in the house. That's why
mhm.
he goes out before Will. They talk about how Mike they don't like living with Mike with Boogie, you know.
And
So
this really works out for Will because Shannon was just more of a firecracker than he was. So Shannon goes out, then it's Boogie and Krista that are together, and so you got to take one of them out before you go after Will. Um, and that's really how Will survives the whittling down of Chilltown. But yeah, I often think about Big Brother 2, especially when, you know, I feel like a common refrain in the world of reality television, and oftentimes even in Big Brother, is like, casting these days, you know, it's just a bunch of wannabe influencers, people who just are trying to get famous. Let's go back to the old days when it was just regular people who were just being on the show for the sake of it. And like, whenever I hear that, the first person I think of is Mike Boogie. And it's just like Mike Boogie and quite frankly, Will Kirby and most of Chilltown. And how, like, guys, this has always been the thing. Reality TV has always preyed upon people who want fame. In the Netherlands, when they made the show, part of their advertising for the casting was, "We will make you famous." It was always part of the deal. And when Mike Boogie and Will Kirby were on this show, they absolutely played up to the cameras because they thought that it was going to make them famous. And after they got out of the house, they tried to be famous people, you know, to varying success. It's just like, you know, different shades of playing up to the cameras. Do you like them or not is really the main focus here. And there's no greater example of this than Mike Boogie, who really gets on there and is just playing a character to such a degree.
Exactly. I love that you're saying this, because it's true. As long as there's reality TV, there's always people who are gonna be on it in order to further their career in the entertainment business. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like Will said, that's reality.
That is reality. All right, let's move on to our next evicted player. After Kent takes out Mike Boogie, plot twist, Hardy wins HOH again and takes out Kent. And this is Will's kind of first big survival, right? Because it was supposed to be Will. He was the final member of Chilltown remaining. You were supposed to go all the way down, but instead they decide to start infighting before they finish off the remainder of Chilltown, and Kent is the first victim of that. Kent has since passed away, and that is very sad. Though his time on Big Brother, you know, I think was very much so the kind of storyline that they were trying to do, which is the same thing that they did with Richard Hatch and Rudy, which is like, hey, here's a homophobic guy who's going to befriend the gay guy. And I believe they stumbled onto that in Survivor. I think they were actively trying to get conflict on Survivor, and then, oh wow, it turned out to be even better. I don't know if they were trying to do a Richard and Rudy, or if they were just going for like, oh, it'll be fun to watch a homophobe be mean to a gay guy. But what they got was Kent and Bunky becoming friends, and you know, doing that whole thing. So, you know, I don't really know where Kent went with all of those thoughts and feelings after the show. I did not I did not follow up with him after the fact, but he definitely said some not nice things, especially in the beginning of the season.
Yes, Kent. Yes. This is when reality TV gets real. You know what I'm saying? When you said, when I said, you know, Big Brother used to show us society, like this was that. Again, like Taran said, it was a little manufactured, but Kent had some views that he expressed in the house. You know, they spin it so it's like, oh, maybe his views have loosened up a little bit. You know, but my thought process about Kent more was the conflict from this week. How did he end up becoming the target, you know, with Hardy, and how Will was able to maximize the 4 weeks that he had prior, right? To go from, you know, the obvious target, like he says, make the target so big, I'm in plain sight, to then flipping it to be like, but you know what? You don't have to get rid of me. The next person will get rid of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is, like you said, this was the metamorphosis of Will's game. And we're going to have to talk about BB2 through Will's eyes, not just because he's the winner, but because the season flowed through him. You know, production made sure of it. So,
yeah. And I would say, you know, we don't often talk about it like this, but I would say that this is Will's best week in the house. I think this is Will's like defining move, because it's really just it's one real big move that happens, and then the rest kind of falls from there. And this is the move, and the cleverness of it is that Will makes a deal with Kent the week before to stay off the block, and, you know, play up the fact that, hey, you can bring me to the end, I'm hated, and so Kent nominates Boogie and Krista to take out Boogie instead of Boogie and Will. And then the following week, when Hardy is HOH, he's able to just kind of be like, well, yeah, I made a deal with Kent. And Hardy's like, Kent is trying to take Will to the end because Will's hated. Kent is you know, double dealing. Maybe I don't deal with Will yet. Maybe I deal with Kent, who's got Bunky on his side. Will has nobody. And so with that one kind of, he makes a deal on one hand and then makes a deal on the other hand, the people who are making the deals with him are the ones getting in trouble because they all know who he is and what he is. And that's really the downfall of Kent. And then with Kent falls Bunky, because now Bunky's mad, right? Like, you went after Kent, and now you just kind of have to finish Kent off and take out Bunky, who is in fact the next voted out person. And then from there, it's just like, well, hey, Monica, Hardy and Nicole are together. You know what I mean? You can't take out me over them. Like, it's pretty simple math from there. So this is really the week, I think, that will you know, solidifies his win, on top of like the correct competition outcomes in the coming weeks, like Monica winning that Final Four. So yes, big week for Will and bad week for Kent.
Exactly. Yeah. I loved that Will would make so many deals because he had no intention of upholding them. And because there's only one competition, he can throw it and never have to live up to his side of the deals. And he's making it with these people who are out loud being like, well, if I give you my word, I'm going to mean it. You know, so they have to follow through, and he never does.
Yes. Also, vitally, this season, again, no veto, as you said. So, so what that means is that, like, the Will game can be very, very dangerous because he's on the block a decent amount of times. And what happens if, you know, they decide they want to vote him out? That would be bad. But worse than that, if there's a veto, what happens if that one person that they wanted to target over Will, what happens if that person wins the veto?
Right.
That's where a lot of potential Wills go home, because if it's Will versus Shannon and Shannon wins the veto, that's it. Will's legacy done in week 3, right? If it's Will versus Kent and Kent wins the veto, do they take out Bunky over Will? Maybe, but it's less clear, right? If it's, you know, Boogie versus Krista and Boogie wins the veto, you know, like there's all kinds of stuff that could happen that could really impact where Will falls in that structure. But the way that this game is structured, the way that he chooses to play this particular game, really, really works. And we see that in the next week, I actually apologize, it wasn't Bunky that went next, it was Krista before Bunky. Because Nicole wins and takes out Krista. Krista, who, again, had been trying to, like, sort of play all sides. We get to this portion of the season where, you know, again, like, the first, I would say, 4 weeks are dedicated to the eradication of Chilltown, revolting against them in week 1. Krista sort of appeasing them, but they're still the enemies in week 2. Week 3, out goes Shannon. Week 4, out goes Boogie. Week 5, Hardy takes the shot at Kent, and the game starts to become more about who are the good people. Because now that Chilltown is all but gone, and we have chosen to not take out Chilltown, but instead take out somebody else, now, like, who has the moral high ground now? Like, you know, who is really the underhanded ones in all of this? And Krista is one of those people that ever since her HOH reign, they've always seen her as sort of like, you're trying to play all sides, you know, like you're not choosing a side. You're trying to be good with everyone, so on and so forth. And so Krista is ultimately going to be the victim here. Will, again, is going to survive, having made his deal with Hardy and Nicole after they took out Kent. And so that is going to be it for Krista, who, you know, has many legacies in Big Brother, including her attempt, I would say, at floating, her accepted proposal from Mike Boogie, and I guess being on the other end of Justin's knife.
Yeah, and then saying all that, but to me, she really did, like, it's like she went to sleep after her HOH. She really did try to just stand back and not make waves. And like you said, Taran, sometimes in Big Brother, the corner turns and it's like, well, let's go after the floaters, grab a leg this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it's sad because it was right when she was starting to finally start thinking strategically that they clip her. Rightfully so.
And I do think one of the more actively strategic people on Big Brother 2. I've always kind of felt like it was a missed opportunity to not have her back, because she was one of the people who just like kind of instantly was trying to play the game in a way that a lot of other people were still pretty slow to it. And I appreciated that about Krista. But then it was, in fact, Bunky that went out. Hardy, Nicole, and then Hardy again went HOH. And Hardy takes out good old Bunky, known for his crying on the show. That was a lot of his edit, was lots of crying. He was crying during evictions and other things. Crier Bunky.
Yeah. And this is the point, he goes out because he's too good. You know, at this point, he would beat the rest of the other 4 people in there. Yeah. So, and it's like, so it's this switch that flips. It's like, okay, so now people are trying to be more self-interested while not looking more self-interested. And this is why Will is able to, in a roundabout way, end up being the sincere one, because he told us from the beginning, he said, I'm going to lie to you, I'm going to be evil, you can call me the evil doctor. So we expect that from Will, but we don't like this mental gymnastics that everybody else is trying to do to justify their bad deeds. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of Big Brother fans love this season, other than just Dr. Will winning. It's just that the people who thought they were good and righteous got their comeuppance for it, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, everyone saw it. That was like part of why it worked, was that it wasn't a secret. Like, Dr. Will wasn't secretly telling people like, oh, take me to the end and you might beat me. He was yelling it from the rooftops. Everyone knew. And again, I always equate Will to the devil on your shoulder. That's how he played the game. It was appeal to your self-interest. And then as you get corrupted, like, you get punished for it more than I do, because I've always been upfront about my corruption. And so when he makes the deal with Kent, then Kent is now corrupted and he needs to go. And when he gets into people's ears about like, hey, you know, you could go to the end with Hardy, you could go to the end with Monica, Nicole, Bunky. Do you feel like you definitely win? Like, or do you feel like you would win against me? And nobody's willing to admit that they're thinking about it. Like, nobody's willing to say like, oh yeah, I'll take Will. They're all like, no, we would never do that. That's a morally wrong thing to do. Will doesn't deserve to be there. But they're all kind of like keeping their options open. They're all kind of like, well, we'll keep him around another. Well, we're not going to take him to the end. And so by the time he ends up getting taken to the end, everyone else who didn't end up doing it, even though they might have, gets to be like, I would never have done that. How could you, Nicole?
Yeah.
And so, which is very different than what happened to Danielle in Big Brother 3, which we'll, of course, talk about. But like Big Brother 3, it was kind of the opposite. It was kind of like, well, nobody's lying, right? Nobody's lying. Nobody should be lying. And then when Danielle is like, yeah, I got here and I lied, people are like, bad. So Will did the opposite. He corrupted everyone else around him.
Exactly. Better the devil you know. Better the devil you know. Everybody loves getting stabbed in the front, not the back.
So I'd rather not be stabbed at all, to be honest.
Well, Taran, that's not an option.
Then Monica wins the HOH in the final four and sends out Hardy. This was a big
In an
one. I
amazing
mean,
way.
Hardy
Mhm.
was supposed to win. Like he was the guy, right? Like if you were
Captain
watching from home,
America.
yeah, like Hardy, he was super popular, he was super attractive. Like he, I mean, he certainly had the advantage of being a man as opposed to Nicole when it
Hmm.
came to perception and playing the game.
Hmm.
He certainly had his own fair share of like hypocrisy in terms of getting dirty, his hands dirty, but wasn't punished for it nearly as much as Nicole was, and probably still would have won the game had he made it down to the end.
Which is
Also, the first,
ridiculous.
big comp beast of the show
Ever.
with his 3 HOHs, and so
It, it
he had to
it's
go.
it's it's astounding to me that he had 3 chances to get rid of Will, and it was like they were like, "Well, he put Will on the block." You know what I'm saying? It was appeased because he put Will on the block each one of those times, but he would then end up targeting the other person, which is how he was able to slither out of that. I don't understand. To me, Hardy is both the villain and the hero of the season. Like
Mhm.
he is the one who's spouting all of this. We have to get rid of all of them. We are the good people, but he doesn't do it when he has the chance. So when he ends up leaving at the hands of Will in such a poetic way, he's pissed, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, do you have a right to be? And he was the one to me when I watch who would be the most self-righteous, but would like do stuff like take the money when he's offering money and stuff like that, and just be the one to like spin his deeds and try and not look self-interested. So, but that is a fine man. He has aged really well.
He has, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, like Hardy was such a great character. Casting did a great job of putting him on this season to be like the anti-Will. It was like they found Will. They're like, we found our Superman. We have to find our Lex Luthor. Like they really did. I felt like they had to cast them like that
Mhm.
intentionally.
Yes, I did do a Taran show interview with Hardy. Geez, that was like almost 7 years ago now. I think it was like
Jeez.
2018.
Oh my gosh.
If you want, I was gonna say if you want an update on where Hardy is, but I guess that was a little while ago now. So.
If you wanna mhm.
um, all right, then of course we get to the final three, and that's when something much bigger than the game happens,
Yeah.
because 9/11 happens, and rocks the world, certainly the world of American culture. Um,
Mhm.
and uh, we talked about this in the Big Brother 2 documentary, but like
Love the
there
documentary.
was a real sort of shift in how people saw reality television as a whole. And there was a campaign to shut the show down.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
send these people home. They should be with their families.
Mhm.
Like this is a stupid,
Wait.
frivolous thing that we shouldn't be
No, no,
focusing
no.
on anymore. Like bigger things are happening. Shut this thing down. And there was a lot of debate about what to do from amongst the producers. Should they tell the house guests? How should they tell them? What should they allow them to do? Should they send them home? What should happen? Um, Ultimately, they did inform the contestants, but for a while they were some of the only people that did not know the full extent of
Mhm.
what was happening. I believe that at the time they were kind of just speculating because all of a sudden they were noticing no planes were flying overhead anymore.
Mhm.
And they
Mhm.
were like, "What? Something must have happened with planes, I guess." And they were eventually told Monica's cousin was missing in the World Trade Center. Later, it was confirmed that she passed away
Mhm.
in the Twin Towers. And so this was like it was very relevant to her in particular. They do eventually tell them They allow them to talk to their families. Monica says in the episode, "Hey, you do your thing. I'm going to do mine. I'm going to be fine. Like I'm going to play this out." Unfortunately for Monica, this was the end for her game, as Nicole wins that final HOH and sends Monica out. But oh boy, I mean, what a journey for Monica, who just needed to win that final HOH, and Monica is the winner of Big Brother 2.
Yes, and not only that, like her being able to win the final 4 HOH, it, winning the final 4 HOH, going through the 9/11 attacks, being told about them, and then going out third, but still having the grace and the beauty and just like being able to handle herself after being that close. She's such an inspirational person. And that's why she was shouted out in Davon's speech. You know what I'm saying? Like Monica really was one of those people who was so dynamic throughout season 2, and she really represented for Black women so well, and really, I think, let people into her life in a moment that is devastating. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And for her to have been such a huge part of the community, and for the community to appreciate her to this day, I'm glad she saw that.
Yeah, and like again, like just like what she almost was able to accomplish, and what she did really accomplish, but like she was almost there at a win. It's gonna take another like over 20 years for a Black player to win Big Brother. And she was there at the very start, just one HOH away. And that's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so many feelings. I love Monica.
Well, she does not win that HOH. Nicole does. And she is going to take Will to the end. Little does she know, it doesn't matter who she takes to the end at this point. She is already lost. In fact, I think she probably lost. Man, she probably loses to Hardy. She probably loses to Bunky. She probably loses. Krista, maybe. I don't know. We'll see about Krista. I feel like Krista might beat her too. Maybe Kent. Maybe she beats Kent. Who knows?
I still am so confused as to why Nicole got the bitch label. You know what I'm saying? Like watching, I loved Nicole's gameplay. I loved it. It was so, to me, it was very strategic. It was very strategic. Some might say snaky. But I didn't find it too snaky. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just goes back to that early 2000s misogyny where it's like, if women do the same things that men do, they get punished more for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least that's what it seemed to me. It's the Wigglesworth of it all too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I just don't understand why women who get to the end have to, like, it's like they always get that label. They always get the, oh, she's a bitch label, and we can't give her the money. And it's like, we're so mad at you for taking Will to the end, and we hate Will in his final speech, but we're still gonna give the money to Will. It's just, I don't know.
And I think that like this also goes back to what we were talking about before about like showmanship and being there for the fame, because Nicole is really the other side of the coin that Will was on. Like, Will was there to be famous, and he was there to put on a show. Nicole was there as just like a person. I think it was her husband that was like a fan of these kinds of shows, and she just kind of got on and had no idea what she was in for. She was just being herself all the time, genuine Nicole, whereas Will was a character. And the character played better. Not because not necessarily because, a character just plays better, but the character was the one that people wanted to root for. She was herself. She worked for television, she just worked as a villain for the audience.
Yeah.
And Will was certainly a villain as well, but in a different way.
A fun villain. Like
Right.
mhm,
Like people loved to sort of like hate Nicole,
mhm,
and sort of like recognize in her some of the things that maybe they recognize in themselves. Whereas Will is just this
mhm,
sort of fantasy character that doesn't
mhm.
exist in real life.
Exactly.
And so you know, she really gets punished for that. She really, I really do think like she didn't know what she was getting into, and
Mhm,
I do think that there is a world where like if this jury is sequestered, and you don't have the diary room and edit narrative painting Will in a certain way and painting her in a certain other way, um, I could see her beating Will in the final two, absolutely. But
mhm.
that was not this game, and that was and Will's strength was those diary rooms. So it was just never going to work out for her in the way that it did. You know, her using diary rooms as a genuine confessional, and him using
Yeah,
diary rooms as a you know, I'm going to
self-promotion.
sell myself.
Yeah.
And so it was just a whole host of things. But yeah,
Russ
that's
W in
ultimately.
the chat says hot tub stuff. What I don't remember the hot tub stuff.
So this was one of the controversies that was happening was that you know, Will was often flirting with Nicole, and so and Nicole was married, and
Mm.
so there was a
Oh.
lot of speculation about like how into it is she, and
Oh,
of course Will was already a bit of a homewrecker because Shannon also had a boyfriend prior
right.
to um,
Mm.
and then in the hot tub, there was some speculation that perhaps some nefarious things had gone on,
It is coming
um,
back to me.
and
Mhm.
and her husband decided to fly a banner plane over the house. I forget exactly what it said, but it basically was like you're bad, like
Yes!
you've done
First
bad
ever
things.
banner plane, I
It
forgot!
wasn't the first. Let me tell you, there were a lot of banner
Oh,
planes, but
sorry.
yeah,
In season 1,
very impactful banner
was there a
planes.
lot of banner planes in season 1?
Oh yeah, lots of banner planes in season 1.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
So I mean, that was another part of it too, right? Where it's
Mhm,
like, you know, if you were already inclined to not particularly care for women acting a certain way, then you certainly weren't inclined to be even remotely sympathetic to a
sympathetic,
woman who was
yeah.
not respecting her husband
I
in
do
the way that
remember
you think that she might have
her
should have.
seeing the plane and being very upset.
Yes.
I remember that now.
Yep.
Whoa. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
listen, this is genuinely like this is one of those examples of like the show feels like it's gone a little too far with Nicole. Like she is a mess by the end, and not in like a fun way, not
Mhm.
in like a like you know, even like pity her way, in a way that's like she should not have been put in that situation, and sort of like been without so much guidance, again, not really understanding or knowing, I think,
What was
what she
getting
was getting
into.
herself into.
Yeah.
I think this is not really a situation that most people go through nowadays, because you kind of do have a much better understanding of what you're getting into in
Yeah.
reality television now. It's such a
Yeah.
it feels like
How
a
your
weird
life's
thing maybe
gonna
for me to
change.
say that she didn't know what she was going to do, but like because probably a lot of people listening to this have grown up with reality television just being a thing, with Big Brother being a
Yeah.
thing. And even if you didn't, you've lived in this world for the last 25 years. But
Mhm.
like this was still very fresh. And
Mhm.
a lot of the most damaging things that reality television did happened in those early days when they didn't know what they were doing and the contestants didn't know what they were doing. And I do think that Nicole was really done dirty by really every side of this.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you are completely right on that, Taran. Oof.
Well, that of course means Dr. Will Kirby, the first winner of Big Brother, the game that we know of now,
Half
Big
man,
Brother
half
2.
amazing.
uh, just circuitry and wires,
Yep.
Dr. Will. Um, and you know, for for as much as, you know, like there are other ways the season could have gone, and as much as Nicole was done dirty, and as much as like Monica was so close, and it was just like Hardy was like the guy, Dr. Will Kirby does feel like the most fitting winner of this first season of the show. The perfect encapsulation of what they were trying to achieve with this new version.
Yeah.
Somebody who approached the game compartmentalizing sort of like his real self versus like his game self, playing hard, lying to people, being cutthroat, stabbing them in the back, talking about bathing in their blood, and putting on a show and really like proving to the world, just like Richard Hatch had done before him, that like this is why you should watch this show. That you know, sometimes the villain will win, and he leaves a mark. Like for years after this, people think and say like, we're not gonna let there be another Dr. Will, and they're on the hunt for who's the next Dr. Will, who's trying to be another Will, and they don't want to let Will win. And you could say to some degree that Lisa's win after this is a response to Will's win, in the same way that Tina's win was a response to Richard's in Survivor. But it really just sets the tone, and I think not only proves to the audience, but proves to the producers that this is what they should be hoping to achieve, is players like Will playing the game hard. That's what's going to make this show work, not only in the short term, but I think more importantly, the long term, because that's the real test of a reality show.
Yeah, because we know of it now, but he did it back then. It's shifting reality TV. It's shifting, it's creating an archetype. It's leaving your mark on the game. He literally left his stamp on the game, to the point where, like you said, the players are looking for a next Dr. Will, but more importantly, production is looking for the next Dr. Will. That's how you know somebody really leaves a stamp on a show. It's when they're trying to cast that next one. When they're trying to cast the next Derek's, like we always see them trying to cast the next Derek's, the next Dan's. And I've gone so far and said it on other podcasts. Tyler from this past season, that's his name, right? See, it's in one out there. The guy, Laurie, with the French name, Tyler, right?
From which season?
What's his name? The most recent one. I said Tyler.
The most recent season.
The guy that everybody loves. Everybody loves him.
Tucker?
Tucker. There we go. Tucker.
Yeah, you know, Tyler.
Tyler too, though. Tyler too. Tyler, but also Tucker. You know what I'm saying? Like it's people that they leave a mark on the game, and Dr. Will
certainly left a mark on you, Mari.
I never professed to be a Tucker fan, so you too, Taran.
Oh boy.
Yes. They leave marks, these people.
Yes. Well, of course, this is not the end for Dr. Will. He will be back, and relevant to all of this, is still going to be back.
Yeah.
Will Kirby has made his return to reality television on Dondi, Deal or No Deal Island. I can tell, I watched the first episode expecting Dr. Will to be there. He wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't in the first episode.
That's weird.
He's apparently going to be in the next episode. And actually join the game proper. But like, I was like, what is going on? My impression of that show is that it's fine. It's literally got like Parvati on it, and I'm like, that's, if Parvati wasn't on this, I'm not sure what it would offer me here, but I'm excited to see what Dr. Will has to offer here on Dondi now. 25 years, or I guess 24 years after his original run on Big Brother 2.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Will is such a big personality. He's been on so many reality TV shows. I used to love watching him on Dr. 90210, I believe, on E. He had his own like
Yeah, he
classic.
had some. I
Mhm.
remember. I remember because like I would try to like be like, oh, Dr. Will on TV. I've got to watch it, and then I
Yeah,
would
that's not
like
for you.
watch a thing and be like, what?
Yeah, that's not for you. No.
Because like I think because I mean Dr. Will inspires Rob Sesternino,
Mhm,
Dan Giesling, Eric, like lots of people inspired by Dr. Will to go on play the game and do their own thing. He inspired me when I was a kid to to continue to watch the show and to sort of like fall in love with these kinds of games.
mhm.
Um, but it's he's then you see him on like other things and you're like maybe I just like him on Big Brother.
Yeah, some, strengths. Like, where
um
she's good at,
I just
yeah.
feel like that's his place. The doctor stuff I could take or leave it. I want you on reality TV. This is your strength. Who needs to be a doctor?
Doctor Who, what? Mm-mm, no.
All right, well, Mari, what
Yeah,
else? Anything else about Big Brother 2? I guess you know what we should do.
what?
Um, there's a little bit of time left on the survey. Who should be on the poster for Big Brother 2? Who are the three? What would you, if you could choose? Who are
Mhm.
the three people on the Big Brother 2 poster?
Of course, Doctor Will, front and
Hmm.
center, very big. Um, I personally would put Nicole up there. I thought I really liked her game. I liked watching her. I know that's hot take or whatever. That 3rd spot is kind of hard though to me. Um, because you could do a Monica and just round out the top 3, or you could do a Bunky because I think Bunky was such an amazing character for the time
Mm.
as well. You know, having a gay man on there open up, be able to connect with the homophobe of his season was very touching. But then Bunky getting like, remember he got shredded as the season went along and stuff like that. That it was so cool. So I think, yeah, I would definitely go with Bunky. Bunky was so fun.
I could see Bunky. I could also see the argument for Monica, and I could see
Yeah,
the argument for Hardy. I
yeah, I
think
can too.
uh, I think that I think you're right. I think the top two is pretty locked in. I think it's Will. I think it's Nicole. I think you put Hardy on there. Those were the three real like players of the game. They really
They
like
were.
the three of them made almost every decision in
Mhm.
one way or another. You could put Monica. It's the final three. I think Monica, like you put Will there because he's like on one side of the house. You put Nicole there because she's on another side of the house. And you put Monica there because she's kind of like that third party, and sort of like rounds out that poster. And then I think you can put Bunky there because he also kind of was like a third party to that main power struggle. It was like him and Kent. So I think that it really depends on what you're going for because I think it depends on the season. Sometimes you
Mhm.
want like a representative from each sort of side or alliance. Sometimes you don't
Mhm.
want to like go all in necessarily. I'll be very curious to see what happens with like a season 6. Um,
Oh god. Put them all
but
on the
go to war again,
Yeah,
fans.
like, do
Um,
the Civil War, style, poster.
I think if I had to choose, I think that final three is just such an iconic one. I think
Mhm.
I'd probably go Will, Nicole, Monica. They're in the house for so long together. I think that like when you remember that season, you really remember the final three, what they went through together.
Yep.
And so I do think that's a pretty good representative sample of the season. But I could definitely see the argument for Hardy or for Bunky.
Mhm.
You could technically make a case for Boogie,
Yeah.
but not because of season 2, because of season 7.
Mhm.
And I think that alone is kind of is a bit disqualifying.
Yeah.
Because like yes, for Big Brother 1, Chicken George is on the front cover. Is he top spot if he doesn't come back
Mhm.
for All Stars? You might tell me no, and I think
Oh.
that's probably
Mhm.
fair.
I see what you're
But
saying.
Chicken George is genuinely one of the biggest characters on that season, if not the biggest character of that season. Between his controversies of, his family trying to organize campaign for him to stay and campaign against other people, between his attempted revolt against the producers, getting people to walk out of the game, you can still see it. Boogie, when we talked about Boogie in season 7, how you remembered Boogie, I was 9 years old when I watched Big Brother 2. I was, let's see, Big Brother All-Stars was what, 2006? I was like 14. It was 5 years later.
I was
I was
17.
14 when I watched All-Stars. I did not know who Boogie was at 14, 5 years later. Yeah, it's a long time, right? And I wasn't rewatching seasons. I wasn't deep in message board discussions at the time. I forgot about the guy. I remember Dr. Will. I remembered Nicole. I remembered Monica. I did not remember. I did not even remember Boogie.
Wow. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, I don't think I would personally have Boogie there for season 2. You could make an argument for season 7. Maybe we'll get there. But then you also have the thing of how much do you account for recent events? So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mari, that you want to bring up from season 2?
No, this is so fun. Thank you, Taran. If y'all haven't, check out the documentary. The documentary was how I it was one of the first real big RHAP listens that I did. It was right, y'all started recording it right around the time I became a patron and a listener of RHAP, and it made me go back and watch Big Brother 2 again. When I was that adult time I told you I watched it, I was like, this doesn't curl all the way over from what I remember. But yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we could entertain the folk here on a Thursday.
Thank you for being here, Mari.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to take part in the survey, again, it's going to be at robiswebsite.com/BB retrospective. If you want to participate in the survey, I will also be tweeting out the link at some point during the week. Let us know who should be on the poster for Big Brother 2, and then tune in next week and we will show you the Big Brother 2 poster with the top 3 up there in all of their glory. And we will also be talking about Big Brother 3, which I feel is, as much as Big Brother 2 is the start of Big Brother the game proper, I feel like Big Brother 3 is really the starting point of Big Brother strategy. Will certainly had strategy. It's just not super replicable. It was very much of its time for its particular game. Big Brother 3 starts introducing the actual strategies that we will be seeing for much of Big Brother's time in the last 25 years. And with me to talk about Big Brother 3 next week will be Chappelle. So we'll be talking about Danielle and Jason and all of that good. Marcellus. Oh boy, Marcellus. All right. Well, that's what we have for you this week. Take the survey. Let us know what you thought of our Big Brother 2 retrospective and what you think of the posters. So tune in for that. The Traitors is going to be airing tonight. I think first 3 episodes, something like that. It's a lot of episodes at once. But speaking of Danielle Reyes, she's going to be gracing our TV screens or maybe our computer screens, depending on where you're watching.
Where you're watching. Or whatever. What's your percentage chance that she's going to be a traitor, Taran?
I mean, this was the thing about Dan too, and all of these players who have these reputations. How do you have Danielle Reyes on your Traitors cast and not make her a traitor?
I know.
That's just a ridiculous notion to me.
Sense. Yep, exactly.
She's built for it. Her up in the turret, with the hood, plotting and scheming, talking about one down, 18 to go. Come on.
It's right there. It's right there.
So tune in for a coverage of the traitors and all of that. You can find me over on Twitch. Like I said, I just did a stream where I ranked the seasons based on like basically my enjoyment of them from the live feeds perspective only, which I thought was very fun. And then again next week for Big Brother 3. Mari, anything you want to plug?
Yes. So me and Chappelle over on Recap Kickback, we're having so much fun over there. We just dropped the episode where we talked about the Golden Globes a little bit, the NAACP Image Award nominees, and we reviewed the 6888. It is a Netflix movie by Tyler Perry, starring Kerry Washington, talking about the 6888 Battalion and all Black and women of color battalion in World War II, the only battalion of women, Black women, to be sent over to Europe during World War II. It is an amazing watch on Netflix, and we had so much fun talking about this very little known Black history moment. So go to recapkickback.com in order to subscribe over there. And then coming up next week, me and Sarah Carradine hosted Chappelle and Matt to talk about the Girls Gone Wild, the Untold Story documentary over on Peacock. It's a yes, whiplash. If you
like, hopefully there's a subtitle there.
yes, yes. Taran,
we just talked about the Girls Gone Wild. That's what we were into.
When you talked about how like Nicole didn't realize what she was getting into with reality TV, it's a lot of parallels with that in the Girls Gone Wild docuseries that we watched. We really dig into culturally what was this moment, this phenomenon that was Girls Gone Wild at the time, as we're watching this docuseries that really dives into the life and the crimes of its founder, Joe Francis. So go check that out by going to crimescenepod.com in order to subscribe, or you can put in Crime Scene, that's Crime SEEN, and any podcatcher of your choice. It's coming out next Tuesday. It's going to be so much fun.
What a thing lost to time that like when I was young, I knew I was up too late when the infomercials started. And then I really knew I was up too late when the Girls Gone Wild infomercials started.
Exactly, Taran. Watching that docuseries was like, it was like a blast from the past. You're like, I can't believe this is a thing that used to happen like 20 years ago. So
yeah,
it's so interesting.
All right, well, check it out. And also check out the Tastemakers over on We Know Scripted TV. We talked about the Golden Globes as well, did our best of the year lists, and just talk about what's new on TV and in theaters and all that good stuff over on the Tastemakers. So check that out. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. We'll be back next week to talk about Big Brother 3. And so we will see you then.